Hi there, I'm Becky Miller and I'm a certified yoga therapist. I have another quick tip for you. This one is really easy and I use it a lot with my clients. So often, you can see how I'm sitting, I've got my legs crossed, and often my clients will look at me and they say, I can't sit like that. How do you sit like that? Your knees go all the way down to the floor. And that's when I look at them and I say, I have to tell them, this is nothing that I've earned. I have sat like this since I was a kid. My hips are very open and I just sit comfortably cross-legged. In fact, sitting with my legs out like this is very uncomfortable. But sitting with my legs crossed in some form or fashion, I'm always sitting like this. In fact, sometimes I sit like this too much. But my clients would look at me and say, I can't do that, I can't sit like that. And I tell them, no problem, it's not, we can still work around it. There's no worry about that. This is not the goal. Sitting with those knees down to the floor like mine is not the goal. You should not be trying to achieve something that I can do. Simply because, again, this is me and you're you. So your hips are different than mine, they are put together differently, and you might be sitting with those knees like this. I see quite a few people in my classes, and they sit very uncomfortably on the floor. Their knees are high, their back starts to hurt really fast, their hips might ache, their knees might ache. They are not comfortable in this position. So good news here is that I know a trick. It is really easy to make you more comfortable in this position. So I have all these props sitting around me, and I have the bolster, the meditation cushion, the blankets, the blocks. I have sat on all of them. And even with my knees, my hips being open, my knees being able to go so low, I still enjoy using the same tip that I give to my clients. It makes a difference in your spine. It makes a difference in how you feel sitting on the floor. It's easier for me as well when I use this tip for myself to sit for long periods. So here's what I'm talking about. Here's the tip. It's just to sit on something. You're going to lift your hips up when you do and change the relationship between your hip joint and your knee joint simply by lifting up a little bit. Often that takes away the pain that my clients are feeling. Sometimes I'll have them use supports underneath their legs at the same time. So when we do that, they are able to sit in the position longer and encourage some opening to happen. I can't guarantee that my clients will ever get their knees to the floor like mine. I just can't. It depends on how you're put together. It depends on so many different things. But what I can guarantee is that we can create some opening in the hip joint, which will make a difference for the knees and the back at the same time, so you can sit a little bit more comfortably with the help of props. So why not try it out? If you feel like you can't sit, if you're one of those people who sit with your knees up like this and you're very uncomfortable, let's try out this tip. So I'm going to start with a blanket. Now, I usually fold my blanket like this, and I have clients sit on the corner of the blanket. So I'm going to bring it back here and just sit on the corner. And what this immediately does is start to shift, again, that relationship between the hip and the knee joint. And if you're one of these people who your knees are up here already, you're like, oh, I can feel a little bit different, but it's not enough. So that's when I take 2, sometimes 3 blankets and stack them up. Usually by the time I get to 3, I can get pretty much most people to sit comfortably. So if I'm sitting like this, my knees, if they were up, my knees are, again, the angle has shifted, my back feels better. But if I still need support, that's when I take I'm going to use a block. That's when I can take a block or a blanket and add that support underneath. And right away, the tension shifts from the back. The hips can go, instead of trying to hold my legs up, they're relaxing. Those muscles that have been overworking, and that's why everything is so tight for so many clients, they are able to start to release. Now, it's not an immediate fix. It's not something that I can say you sit like this one time and your hips are going to open up. But what it does do is start to reverse that trend of the tightening of the hips that have got you to this place where maybe you're sitting with your knees almost up to your chin. So again, maybe you use blocks to prop up legs. If you're going to use a blanket, you can fold the blanket as much as you need. Now, often I'm not actually supporting knees. I'm putting those blankets closer to the hip, and that helps support the legs. But you change it to whatever works for you. Now, I said I sometimes sit on blocks. I sometimes sit on a bolster, meditation cushion, all these things, and they're all doing the same thing. They're all lifting your hips up. Now, if you don't have blankets handy, you have a yoga block. What I do is I sit on the corner of the block. Most people look at me really strange when I tell them to do that the first time. And I totally get it. It is a little bit weird. But once you sit that way, lift those hips up, even with my hips being as open as I am, I'm more comfortable this way. Immediately, what I've done is pulled my tailbone back a little bit, put my spine in a better position, and I sit taller right away. Now, if your hips are tight and you do this, you've taken the strain off your back. You have shifted, again, that angle between the hips and the knee. You can still use props here if you need to, placing blankets underneath legs. So the goal is to get you so that you can be comfortable in the position, because if you are in pain when you sit on the floor, you're not going to stay there. And if you never sit in this position, you're never going to see improvement in it. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling cycle. You don't do it, things just get tighter and tighter instead of loosening up so that you can sit comfortable. And there are times when you want to get down to the floor. Maybe you want to play with a kid or a grandkid. Maybe there's some project that you need to do, and going down to the floor is a necessity. Maybe, I don't know, there's so many reasons to be able to sit on the floor. Your spine actually appreciates it when you can get comfortable, but you're also going to strengthen your core when you sit on the floor in a good position, and we can all use a little bit stronger core, I know that. So these are just a few ways to use these props, but the tip is just to lift your hips up. If I wanted to sit on my bolster instead of the block or the blankets, now some people will try to sit this way on their bolster, and when you sit this way, you're actually preventing the hips from opening up because you're putting too much support underneath the hips. So my suggestion is to turn the bolster and sit on the edge of it, and right away you've created a little bit of space, and that's why we sit on the block on the corner as well. But you've created a little bit of space so those hips can open, and then you prop up the legs if you need to. But you're not trying to get rid of all sensation, you're just trying to get rid of pain. Pain is not what we're looking for. A little bit of stretch should not be painful. And if we get you in a position that is comfortable and you can stay there longer, then you're going to start the process of opening your hips a little bit and releasing those tight muscles. So use what props you need. Make yourself comfortable so that you can sit on the floor for a longer period. Even if your hips are already fairly open, sitting on something, block, bolster, blanket, whatever it is, again, will help put your spine in a better position, helps you to sit taller, longer, strengthen your core, and just provide that support that often hips need. So having tight hips does not mean that you cannot sit on the floor. It just means you need to make adjustments. You need to use a few props and make yourself comfortable so that you can enjoy the hips being open more. You can enjoy sitting on the floor with your kids or grandkids. You can enjoy life in all forms and fashions. So this quick tip, you don't need a lot of props, just a pillow, a blanket, whatever you have handy to sit on, and it'll make so much difference in how you feel when you sit on the floor. So that's all for today. I hope you give this a shot, give it a try, and let me know how it works for you. If you have questions, feel free to leave a comment. And if you need any extra support or any extra help in this, feel free to reach out. I do work with people online as well as in person. So reach out if you need any extra help. And I will see you again next time with another quick tip. Don't forget, it's never too late to live healthier and happier. It just takes one little tweak. Bye for now.